What is up, people of YouTube? I'm the mom. I'm here with your host Vernon. This is Floyd Lamb Park. Let's fish that.
Alright, ladies and gents, sadly the sound for this particular clip that got corrupted, but the lady you just saw in the intro, that is of course my mother, and that means my parents made the long trip all the way from South Africa here to Vegas to come and visit us. So for the next couple of weeks we are going to be doing some sightseeing and some touristy type of stuff, but of course we're also going to be doing some fishing in between. Now, of course, my father does occasional fishing, so you guys will get to meet him in some of my videos. He'll do some fishing with me. But in this particular video, I want to focus today on my mother. She has always been supportive of us going fishing, helping cleaning the fish and cooking fish. But it turns out that she has actually never caught any fish. She did go fishing as a child with her father, but she does not remember actually catching anything. And as a YouTube fisherman, it is my duty to kind of get her on a fish, and that is why we made our way out here to Floyd Lamb Park. They did do the first annual stocking of catfish here at Tule Springs, but we're not going to go for any catfish or bluegill today. I want to see if we can get my mom on some big carp maybe. So we're going to head down to Mulberry Lake, so let's get back to the action. Alright guys, so I'd like to use this opportunity just to show you guys what it is that we're doing, what we're using out there to try and find carp, because I know there are still people that want to try and catch some carp. It is a big fish and it's quite easy to catch, but because we're only trying to find carp today, we're only going to be using the 2 rods. Both of these we're using are method feeders with some cord, soaking the baits out there, waiting for fish, but this is the 2 rods we're going to be using. On the white rod I have my normal carp setup with a bait running reel, and on the second rod I'm using a normal spinning reel. You do not need any fancy carp setup to try and catch carp. You can use a normal spinning rod and reel. The only thing is you need to loosen the drag on the front end. The fish needs to be able to take line. If they're not going to be able to take the line, they're just simply going to rip your rod into the water. So you need to release the drag on your reel so they can freely take line. Also, we're using some orange line indicators just to see whether we are getting some hits from fish. That is not needed at all. Carp is a species of fish where if they grab your bait, they're going to eat the entire thing. They're going to swim off with it, so they are going to be pulling out line. You don't need line indicators. I'm just using it so I can see if something's trying to steal my baits. So what is it that we're using out there? Well, we're using basic method feeders. Now, whether you're using one like this is the most commonly found method feeder here in America. You have a little lead weight on the bottom and you put your pack bait on there, you cast it out there with your line, or you can get them in all sorts of variations. You get a wired mesh one or you get some plastic ones, but the general idea is you need a little lead weight because you want this thing down on the bottom, and of course anything that your pack bait can stick to, and then you put your hooks on there as well. So this is basically the examples of the things we're using out there. Put your pack bait on, put your corn out there, you throw it out and you wait for the fish to start feeding. Now I am of course using some Supercast Super Feed. This is a South African product, but I've been struggling to find it here in the US since the pandemic started. They're no longer importing this. This is just some crushed corn mixture, and that is what I put on my method feeder. But like I said, this is my last pack, so pretty soon I'll be swapping over to using some oats and normal corn and some jello. You make a little pack bait out of that, and the card above here I will link a video in which I give the recipe to make your own pack bait. The pack bait works pretty well. You have some extra corn in there. It just starts the fish to go into this feeding frenzy, and hopefully they'll grab your hooks with the actual corn on there. Alright, and this is the setup. Got our little pack bait on our little method feeder, and I got 2 hooks, both baited with some corn. The top one, we have some basic sweet corn straight out of a can. And the bottom one, I'm being a bit fancy, putting on some flavored corn. This is some banana corn. We see which the fish rather prefer. And of course, carp fishing is not a very hands-on type of thing. You throw the baits out there, you let them soak while you have a seat, sitting around, reading a book, having some fun, enjoying the time with your family. And then when you do get a bite, it's all action to try and catch the carp. But for now, let's wait and see if any fish show up. Alright guys, I think we may have a fish on. Wasn't as violent with the bell screaming. No, indeed, it's not a fish, it's a little terrapin.
Oh, no.
We got our first little terrapin for today. Just quickly gonna get the net so we can get him out. Not a fish, but at least you got a little terrapin. Alright, so not the fish that we were hoping for, but luckily it's not hooked that bad. So, nice big terrapin, not what we're looking for, so we're going to get this guy back into the water. Okay. It's a bit of a drop to get in the water, we'll just quickly turn him around. Got him turned around. And there he goes, back down to go steal our baits again. Got the roll. Alright guys, I think we might have a fish on this time around. So at this point, I told my mother how to set the hook and everything. We're not assisting her with this at all. She's just going to slowly bring in the fish. We don't want to put too much strain on the fish and try and tear the hooks out. So we're just going to slowly bring it in and see if we get it in the net. It's not the biggest carp, but at least we're getting a fish. Alright, so one of the smaller guys, not partaking in the spawn, but at least we got a fish in the net. Let's quickly have a look at him. Alright, so there we go. We don't know if this truly is my mom's first fish, but if it is, her first fish she caught herself. Tiny little carp, but happy to get a fish at least. Alright, so we got a few photos with the fish. Let's get this small guy back to the water. Alright, so there we got him. Straight back into the water, and off he goes. Well done, first little carp caught. And this fish is swimming towards us. And again, another tiny little carp. Seems like the big fish are busy spawning. It takes a carp something like 4 years before they get to a mature stage to spawn. So only the tiny fish are biting at the moment. Let's get this little guy out of the water. Alright, so lovely little carp. Lovely silver colors on this one. He's not gold yet. So another small little carp. At least we're catching some fish out there. Let's get this guy back into the water. And off he goes. Alright guys, once again no sound for this clip. Lots of technical difficulties, but we still had fun. We finally got my mom on her fish. We would have liked for something a bit bigger, but hey, we're not going to complain. Now just to clarify, unfortunately my grandfather's not around. We cannot ask him whether this truly is my mom's first fish, but as far as we know it's the first one, and we're going to celebrate it as that. So please do give a little thumbs up for my mom on her first fish. If you're someone that's trying to get into carp fishing, I hope you could use some of the information in this video. Feel free to ask any questions down below in the comments. And of course, if you're new here to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button, joining my community. But I want to thank you guys for following us on this trip, and like always, we'll see you next time.